In a universe full of ideas, we draw lightness from the dark to a place where opposites attract. Right meets left, positive touches negative, sparking an explosion of truth. Because politics makes strange bedfellows.
Last month, Bobby Kennedy had dinner in Las Vegas at the Bellagio with former CIA director under President Trump, Mike Pompeo, who I think is the devil incarnate. And he was also Secretary of State for President Trump. But I don't know if you saw the RFK interview with Tucker Carlson. It was really good. But he talked about that dinner. And we played it here last week on Strange Bedfellows of Bobby explaining things that Pompeo told him at the dinner. And Pompeo came to him sort of in a sneaky way, like you might expect a CIA guy to do. And he said, you know, Bobby, there are people inside that agency who don't have the U.S.'s best interest at heart. Really? I'm shocked to find that out. Tell me something I don't know. But it seemed to me that he did that because he knew that if Bobby gets elected, there's going to be some prosecutions coming. And I think that was his way of saying, please don't prosecute me. I'm your friend. You know, Mike, I think he's a snake, and he slithered his way into the Trump campaign and gained the trust of President Trump. And in 2017, when it was Trump's turn to release the JFK files, the still secret files after 60 years about the assassination of a president, in which I believe that agency was heavily involved, if not the architects of the whole operation. Most of the files that are still classified are CIA files. And it was Mike Pompeo who went to President Trump after Trump said, I'm going to release everything. I'm going to put all the CIA files out there. The very next day, he gets a visit from Mike Pompeo who says, sir, we can't release those, national security, blah, blah, blah. And he prevailed. And Trump did what Mike Pompeo told him to do. Then Trump promoted him to Secretary of State. And I should also say, and Tucker, thank goodness, challenged Kennedy on this during that interview. He reminded Kennedy that it was Mike Pompeo who had a plan to kidnap and or assassinate Julian Assange. Kennedy has pledged to pardon Julian Assange on day one of his presidency if he's elected. Now, what I found amazing, and you probably did too when you saw the interview, was that Bobby seemed to be surprised to hear this. He didn't know that. When Tucker told him, you can see the look on his face. He's like, huh? Is that right? Is that true? And Tucker's like, you're damn right it's true. And Tucker did a report last year on his show about the JFK assassination. Tucker has a unidentified anonymous secret source who has looked at the secret CIA JFK files. And he says that the CIA killed President Kennedy. The day after Tucker did that report, someone, an assistant to Mike Pompeo in Mike Pompeo's office, texted him and said, you just violated national security, and whoever your source is, we're going to find him and we're going to put him in prison. And that's the same thing that they did to Yahoo News when Yahoo News broke the story last year about the plan to kidnap and assassinate Julian. He went on the Megyn Kelly show. Mike Pompeo went on with Megyn Kelly and said to the whole world that Yahoo News, at the time I was working for Yahoo News, that our staff who worked on that story and our sources should be prosecuted under the Espionage Act, and that we should all go to prison. So this is not a man to be trusted. And it concerns me because Bobby seemed to be really kind of liking Mike Pompeo there for a minute until Tucker told him, hey, this guy is not your friend. And then Bobby changes his tune and says, oh, well, I guess I probably shouldn't be cozy with Mike Pompeo. But in that interview, what I'm getting at here is Bobby was talking about this dinner that he had with Pompeo in Las Vegas last month, but he would not name the other people who were there at that dinner party. And we talked about it on Strange Bedfellows last week. We were all just kind of wondering, wonder who else was at that dinner table. Well, I found out. You want to know? Hang on to your hat. Hillary Clinton.
Oh.
Not joking. She was there. Hillary Clinton was at that dinner table. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Well, I've known that they're friends. They're, that's been public.
Oh yeah.
He supported her every time she ran.
He did.
Yeah, even as a war criminal. Yeah, that is concerning. It's concerning to me that I just, first of all, I kind of wonder, why isn't anybody in his campaign kind of warning him about people like this? How does he not know these things about Pompeo, who he's meeting with?
Right.
Different campaigns that I've worked on, for example, like when I worked with Kerry on his PAC, which is a very eye-opening experience, Democratic Party for me.
Oh, I bet.
It was my job to arrange his meetings with big donors. And sometimes I would go to them with him. And so we would go to different boardrooms around Washington, D.C., these like K Street boardrooms, or we would go to the private homes of, these really rich Democratic Party donors. And before that, one of my jobs was to write him the bios of the people who were going to be there and to find out who was going to be there. And so, and this was something, it was a piece of paper. He would read it as a briefing. He'd read it on the way or, before that. So we always knew, and he always knew who was there. And it just kind of surprises me that, how can there not be anybody around him who's telling him, maybe this isn't the best idea. Maybe nothing good can come from associating with this character. And it gets to something else that concerns me about the campaign, which is that, both in the case of like Amaryllis Fox, and this meeting you're describing, there seems to be or I wonder if there's a school of thought in the campaign that says that, maybe by having some connections here or there, maybe by showing a little bit of friendliness, a little bit of safety to the intelligence community or some people in it, maybe a little bit of a wink here and there,
maybe they won't kill you like they killed your dad and your uncle.
Right. Or sabotage us in whatever way, like sabotage, the campaign.
Yeah. I mean, why didn't Amaryllis warn him about Mike Pompeo? Does she think that Pompeo's one of the good guys? Because if she does, I'm afraid she is mistaken. And you're right, Nick, the way they always do it, the way that they get the candidate in their web like a spider trapping a bug is through money, through donations, because they know that obviously we need donors. And this dinner party was set up as a, the fetch, the lure to get Bobby to come to Las Vegas was, donors, big donors. And one of his big donors is a veteran Wall Street executive by the name of Omid Malik. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's the guy that set up this whole dinner in Las Vegas at the Bellagio. And he got Bobby to fly there, right, across the country. He made a special trip. Now, the others at this dinner, this is where it starts to get very interesting. The others were in town already because they were all speaking at the Scale Global Business Summit, which was going on in Las Vegas. So in addition to two former secretaries of state, Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State for Trump, Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State for Obama, you also had Trump's former economic advisor, Gary Cohn. He was at the dinner, and he confirmed that he was at the dinner. Treasury Secretary Larry Summers and DNC mega donor Mark Lazary was also there. So we had some big bucks sitting at this table and a lot of power, and there's more. But wait for it. Also at the dinner was former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson.
Wow.
Wow.
You know what this kind of reminds me of, Lori, is when all the big Hillary Clinton donors took Kamala Harris out into the Hamptons, and they basically, had this event with her, and that was where it was decided that Kamala was going to be the nominee in 2020. Of course, they failed because Kamala's just horrible. But this kind of this has like echoes of that, where it's like, all these very powerful people getting together and kind of vetting or assessing, or maybe just trying to getting the candidate, try to take the edge off, whatever it is. But that's how this feels to me. And I worry, because the source of Bobby's popularity are his principles. It is, what it is the fact that he's against these people. He's against what they stand for. And I worry that, in the campaign, there will be some people who kind of jump the gun and say, we're not seeing the poll numbers rise fast enough. We're not doing well enough in South Carolina. We're not doing blah, 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 whatever. We need to reorganize. We need to reshift the strategy. We need to become more friends with the establishment. We need to, go in that direction, because then they won't have the same opposition to us. And then, maybe that will help us, kind of break through in a way that we're not. That's the biggest mistake you can make.
Exactly.
That will kill your support. It will neutralize your campaign. And I know, because I saw Bernie make the mistake firsthand. He made it in 2016, and then he doubled down on it in 2020. And when, in 2016, he was saying, we're taking on both parties. We're taking on the oligarchy. He was like railing against Hillary Clinton, her Wall Street speeches, calling her corrupt and everything. In 2020, it was just a shadow of the campaign. He was calling Joe Biden his friend. He was no longer going after the Democrat Party. He wasn't talking about the oligarchy. He wasn't talking about political revolution anymore. That's what I see that they want here. They're trying to sink their claws into him, and he's going to have the moral fortitude and the fire and the people around him who are keeping him honest. And that's important.
And protected. Protected. We have to protect him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that something that's really important here is that it gets to a theory of change. The establishment is hypercritical of Bobby and any candidate who's running against them, any candidate. And there's a temptation to feel like, people who support his policies, and, a lot of what he represents, that, we should just kind of like support whatever he does, or, not be critical, and that's wrong. I could tell you, from experience in the Burley campaign too, he needs to get the pressure from the other side. He needs to hear from his supporters about how, no, we don't want you meeting with these establishment warmongering hacks. These people are the antithesis of what you represent, of your campaign.
This is the enemy. This is literally the enemy.
This is literally a council of the enemy who you're meeting with. Like, what good can come from that? Why would you even accept that?
I don't know. I'm absolutely baffled that he went. I mean, somebody told him, hey, you need money, so go to this fundraiser. And that was the lure to get him there. And then he comes back and he tells Tucker Carlson, hey, Mike Pompeo, he's a pretty nice guy. I kind of liked him. He's worried about what's going on with the CIA. And I'm thinking, no, he's not. He is the epitome of the rot. He's the guy who bragged, we lie, we cheat, we steal. He forgot to mention we assassinate people. And we've been doing it since 1954. And, we killed your uncle too. And we probably killed your dad, but I'm your friend. No, you're not. Who the fuck do you think you're fooling, dude? I'm sorry, but this gets me really, really hot under the collar. And I'm about to sweat through my Maverick News uniform. See, Rick, I wore my uniform today.
Oh, there you go.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.